Ladies and gentlemen, there is something profoundly sacred about your dreams. They are born in silence, nurtured in the solitude of your soul, and whispered into your heart when the world is fast asleep. They are not meant to be shouted from rooftops before they are ready to rise. Today, I invite you to walk with me through a truth most people realize too late. Do not tell everyone your plans. Not because people are evil, not because the world is cruel, but because the beauty of your journey deserves protection. Your plans are seeds, and seeds do not grow under harsh light. They need the safety of soil and the gentleness of time. Now let us reflect on 5 key principles that illuminate this truth. Silence is the guardian of growth. There is something incredibly powerful about the way silence holds space for growth. In a world where noise is constant, silence becomes sacred. When you choose silence over explanation, you are not hiding your truth, you are protecting it. You are letting your dreams incubate in stillness, where they can breathe, stretch, and find their own form before the world dares to name them. Growth does not announce itself. A tree does not shout when it begins to rise from the soil. A seed does not scream its potential before becoming a sapling. It simply grows, quietly, consistently, unapologetically. Your dreams are like that. They need silence to become strong enough to withstand storms. When you speak too soon, you invite opinions. When you share too early, you make yourself vulnerable to energies that may not nurture your vision. People do not always mean harm, but they may carry perspectives that are not aligned with the light you carry within. And once a dream is wounded by doubt, it begins to question its own worth. There is a softness in the beginning of anything. The way a baby takes its first breath, the way the sun gently rises before it sets the sky ablaze. Dreams, too, have their gentle beginnings. You must honor their fragility by allowing them to grow in quiet places. Not every truth needs to be spoken at once. Not every idea needs validation before it becomes a reality. When you choose to be silent, you're not being secretive. You are being wise. You are choosing to feed your soul rather than entertain an audience. You are choosing solitude over applause, depth over decoration, and substance over spectacle. This is where true power begins in stillness. We have been conditioned to believe that the louder we are, the more we will be heard. But there is a difference between being heard and being understood. And silence helps us understand ourselves before we ask the world to do the same. It gives us clarity, alignment, and purpose. You don't need to explain what you're building. Just build. Let your silence be a vessel, not a void. Let it carry your intention, your dreams, and your divine calling. Let your hands work in the background while the noise fades into irrelevance. Because true creation happens away from distraction. Sometimes the loudest noise we hear is the pressure to share, the pressure to keep up, to be visible, to prove ourselves. But peace is found in restraint. Peace is found when you say, I don't need to be seen to be significant. Because what grows in the dark will one day bloom in the light stronger, more beautiful and more real than anything rushed into visibility. Your silence is not your weakness. It is your womb. It is where you nurture your becoming, where you heal the parts of you that are still learning to believe again. It is where you face the mirror and whisper, I am becoming, long before anyone else knows what that even means. There's a strength in not announcing every step, a grace in walking without a parade. When you know who you are and what you're meant to do, you don't need to convince anyone. You just need to keep going. Let the work speak when it's ready. Let the fruit speak when it ripens. Silence keeps you grounded. It keeps you from building your identity around applause. It keeps you from chasing noise and teaches you the value of presence. You begin to walk differently when you no longer need to shout where you're headed. You walk with purpose, with quiet confidence, with depth. Everything sacred begins in silence. Life begins in the womb. Art begins in the imagination. Healing begins in the stillness of the night. Do not be afraid of the quiet seasons. They are preparing you for something your voice alone cannot carry. Trust the work happening in the unseen. When you learn to honor your own process without public performance, you reclaim your power, you take back your timeline, you decide when the world is allowed to see. And until then, you focus on being, on becoming, on building something so authentic that it no longer needs announcement. There will come a day when your silence will erupt into beauty, when the roots you've planted in solitude will burst forth in strength. And you will realize that the waiting, the withholding, the whispering it, all had a purpose. It wasn't hiding, it was honoring. And in that moment, you will know that the silence was not just your refuge, it was your revolution. Not everyone sees with your vision. There is something profoundly personal about a vision. It is not a public announcement. It is a sacred conversation between you and your creator, etched onto the walls of your soul when no one was watching. And because it is yours, it makes sense only to you. It burns brightly in your chest while the world walks in the dark, unaware of what fuels your every step. That is why expecting others to understand it is often a silent betrayal of your own purpose. The moment you start explaining your vision to others, you hand them the pen to rewrite it through their lens. And most people, despite their love, despite their loyalty, can only see as far as their fears allow them. Their perception becomes a mirror, not of your possibility, but of their own limitations. And what was once a fire in your chest can begin to flicker under their cautious gaze. Some dreams are too big for small minds, not because people are incapable, but because they were never meant to carry what was planted in you. Their soil cannot nurture your seed. It is not personal. It is simply a matter of alignment. What was whispered to your soul was never broadcast to theirs. And that's okay. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to live the truth that was given only to you. You must learn the art of discernment, the ability to know who can hold space for your dreams and who can only spectate. It is not a judgment of character. It is a recognition of energetic capacity. Some people love you, but cannot envision the altitude you were born to reach. If you keep waiting for their permission, you may never take flight. You don't need everyone to get it. You don't need them to nod in agreement, to cheer you on, or to validate your calling. Your vision is not a community project. It is a soul assignment. And the truth is, even the most beautiful visions are often laughed at before they are applauded. Because people see only the now, they cannot comprehend the not yet. But you must move forward anyway. When you start to listen too closely to the noise around you, you begin to silence the voice within you. That inner knowing, that divine pullet starts to whisper less and less when drowned by the world's disbelief. And if you're not careful, their doubts can become your new truth. A truth that binds instead of liberates. A truth that keeps you dreaming small. You were not given a vision to entertain others. You were given a vision to expand yourself, to become, to build, to serve. And every time you try to translate that vision into words for those who don't speak your language, you dilute it. Not because they mean harm, but because they do not have the blueprint of your heart. There's nothing wrong with walking alone for a while. In fact, that lonely road is often the most transformative, because it is there, in the silence and the stillness, that your vision sharpens. It is there that your faith deepens. It is there that you realize you don't need everyone to believe in your vision. You just need to believe in it enough to keep going. People might ask, why are you doing this? And sometimes you won't even have the words to explain. That's okay. Because the truest visions often transcend language. They're not meant to be articulated. They're meant to be embodied. Let your life be the explanation. Let your results become your translation. Be careful not to shrink your vision to fit into someone else's understanding. Some people only know how to dream in black and white because color was never part of their world. But you were born to paint with every hue, every possibility, every spectrum of light. Don't dim your brightness because someone else has only ever seen shadows. Your vision does not require approval. It requires action. The more you wait for others to validate it, the longer it will take to become real. There's a kind of courage in trusting what only you can see. A kind of strength in walking towards something invisible to the rest of the world. That is not foolishness. It is faith in motion. Sometimes the people who doubt you the most are those closest to you. Not because they don't care, but because they fear seeing you fail. They want to protect you, not realizing they are protecting you from becoming. Don't resent them. But don't let their fear redefine your purpose either. If you ever feel misunderstood, remind yourself, you are not a public blueprint. You are a private masterpiece in progress. Let them wonder, let them question. You owe no one a detailed map of your journey when they were never called to walk it. You are the carrier of your vision. And though others may walk beside you, the torch is in your hand. Protect it. Nurture it. Honor it. And when the day comes that your dream stands tall for all to see, you won't need to say, I told you so. You'll simply smile and know. It was never meant for them to see until it was ready to be shown. And in that moment, you will realize it was never about being understood. It was about being faithful. Energy flows where focus goes, don't scatter it. There is a sacred rhythm to creation. And that rhythm demands your full attention. Every dream, every goal, every path that calls your name requires energy, not just any energy, but focused, intentional, and undistracted energy. The kind of energy that does not apologize for choosing clarity over chaos. Because when you scatter your energy, you dilute your power. And what could have been a flame becomes a flicker, unable to light even your own path. You must understand that your energy is your currency. It is what builds your reality. Every word you speak, every thought you entertain, every conversation you allow it all either invests in your vision or steals from it. If you are constantly explaining yourself, constantly announcing your every move, constantly dividing your attention, you are leaking power from the vessel that was meant to carry your destiny. Not everyone deserves access to your mind in its creative phase. Not every plan needs an audience. Some things are too sacred for sharing. You must learn to protect your energy the way an artist protects their unfinished painting, not because it is incomplete, but because it is in process. And anything in process is vulnerable to contamination when exposed too soon. When you speak too often about your plans, you start to live in the illusion of progress. You feel as though you're moving forward, but in truth, you're spending more time describing the journey than actually walking it. There is a quiet danger in that. A danger that convinces you that visibility equals victory, but real growth doesn't need to be seen to be solid. Every time you explain yourself to someone who cannot comprehend your direction, you are giving away fragments of your energy. Tiny pieces of your drive, your focus, your inner compass scattered in conversations that don't lead to purpose. Imagine how much further you'd be if you collected those pieces and used them for action instead of approval. You are not here to manage perceptions, you are here to manifest potential. And that requires focus. Relentless focus. Focus that says, I am not available for every distraction. I am not accessible to every voice. I am not open to opinions that do not align with my purpose. That is not arrogance, it's spiritual discipline. When your energy is scattered, your soul feels it. You wake up tired even when you've slept. You feel unfulfilled even when you've been productive. Because activity without alignment is empty. And focus without intention is noise. You were not meant to live scattered. You were meant to live centered. Protect your mornings. Guard your evenings. Be mindful of what conversations you allow into your sacred space. Because the more fragmented your energy becomes, the harder it is to hear your own truth. And your truth, that inner voice, that sacred nudge, that's where your power lives. Sometimes we confuse busyness with progress, but busyness is not always a badge of honor. Often, it's a sign of misaligned focus. True progress happens in quiet, disciplined dedication away from the noise, away from the applause, away from the performance. It happens when you choose depth over speed. You cannot be everything to everyone and still become who you were meant to be. You cannot give your energy to every idea, every conversation, every doubt, and still expect to build something divine. Your dream is not a group project, it is a soul project. And it requires a level of devotion that distractions cannot coexist with. There will be moments when you'll be tempted to explain, to announce, to prove, but remind yourself, focus is not just about what you give your attention to, it's about what you are willing to let go of. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the temptation to be visible before you are ready. Let go of everything that pulls you away from purpose. Clarity comes from commitment, and commitment demands energy, not borrowed energy, not leftover energy, but your best energy. The energy you've been giving to overthinking, to unnecessary conversations, to the fear of missing out. Redirect that. Reclaim that. Focus it. When you learn to focus, you begin to flow. Not hurried, not frantic, but deeply aligned. You start to feel a rhythm in your soul that says, this is where I belong. This is where I thrive. And in that flow, your dreams begin to take shape. Not through force, but through faith. Not through panic, but through peace. The world will offer you 1,000 ways to scatter, 1,000 platforms, 1,000 opinions, 1,000 distractions dressed as opportunities. But you must look within and ask, is this feeding my focus or fracturing it? Because only when you choose to stay rooted in your vision will the seeds of your purpose begin to rise. And as you rise, silently and steadily, you will know your energy was never meant to be spent on explanation. It was meant to be poured into creation. The world has a way of planting doubt. There is a silence that grows inside you the first time someone questions your dreams. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It just sits there, quietly pulling threads of belief out from underneath your foundation. And before you know it, doubt is no longer a whisper, it becomes a wall. A wall built not with your own hands, but with the words, glances, and judgments of others. That's how doubt begins subtly, but deeply. You see, the world doesn't always come with knives. Sometimes it comes with smiles, with words that sound soft but slice deep. Are you sure this is for you? Isn't that a little unrealistic? Don't you think someone else is already doing this better? These questions aren't always asked with malice, but their impact is lasting. Doubt doesn't need an invitation, it only needs an opening. And too often, we give it that opening. We lower our guard because we expect the world to believe in us as we believe in others. But belief isn't a gift that comes from outside, it is a battle that begins within. And the moment you expect others to water the garden of your soul, you forget how to hold your own rain. The world has a way of making you second-guess even your deepest truths. It paints risk as recklessness. It calls passion impractical. It labels dreamers as delusional. But here's the truth. Most of the voices that plant doubt in you are echoing their own fears. They are not seeing your path, they are projecting their pain. And if you're not careful, you begin to believe them. You start rewriting your dreams to fit into their comfort zones. You start editing your soul just to be accepted by people who were never meant to understand your journey. And in that process, you lose fragments of yourself. Not all at once, but slowly, painfully. Doubt doesn't come in waves, it comes in raindrops. One subtle comment here, one sideways glance there, until one day you find yourself drenched, soaked in questions that were never yours to carry. That's why protecting your dreams isn't arrogance, it's awareness. It's knowing that not every ear deserves to hear what your heart is building. There is nothing wrong with being misunderstood. In fact, it is often the greatest sign that you are walking a path not yet paved. The world is slow to embrace what it cannot label. And you, with your wild vision and your untamed hope, will never fit into their boxes. And you were never meant to. But in that space of misunderstanding, you must not allow doubt to find roots. Because once it does, it grows fast. It wraps around your confidence. It suffocates your momentum. It makes you question not just your dream, but your worth. That is what makes doubt so dangerous. It doesn't attack the idea, it attacks the identity. You must become your own guardian, your own cheerleader, your own believer. Because if you are waiting for the world to confirm your purpose, you may wait a lifetime. The world rarely applauds the process, it only celebrates the outcome. But your process matters. Your small steps matter. Your quiet perseverance matters. Remember this, doubt only grows where belief is silent. Speak life into your own vision. Remind yourself why you started. Revisit the fire that once burned without explanation. Go back to the moment when it was just you and the dream and you still believed without needing proof. You don't need 100 hands clapping. You need your own heart believing. The world may try to confuse you, distract you, plant fear in places meant for faith, but the only voice that truly shapes your future is the one you listen to the most. Make sure it is your own. Make sure it is kind. Make sure it remembers who you are. Doubt will knock. It always does. But you don't have to open the door. You don't have to let it in just because it's loud. The power was never in the voice of the world. It was always in your decision to keep going, even when the noise around you screamed, you can't. And sometimes the loudest doubt doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. That small voice in your head that says, what if I'm not enough? But let me tell you, if you were brave enough to dream it, you are strong enough to do it. You are more than capable. You are more than worthy. You are chosen. So don't let the world's uncertainty steal the certainty you were born with. Don't let its doubt silence your fire. You are not here to convince them. You are here to become. Let your journey speak for itself, and let your belief be louder than the doubt they try to plant. Because at the end of the day, it's not their doubt that defines your destiny, it's your decision. The seed grows best in hidden soil. There is something divine about beginnings that go unnoticed. The way a seed breaks beneath the soil, far away from the world's applause, completely invisible yet completely alive. It doesn't announce its process. It doesn't beg for recognition. It simply obeys its purpose. And in that quiet obedience, it becomes unstoppable. Because real growth doesn't need an audience, it just needs truth, time, and trust. Too many people abandon their dreams because they feel unseen, because their efforts go unnoticed, because the world is not clapping yet. But a seed doesn't grow by being praised, it grows by staying planted. It breaks before it blossoms. It fights through darkness before it ever feels the sun. And so do you. You are in a season right now that may feel hidden. You are doing the work, showing up, staying faithful, and still there's no spotlight, no cheers, no validation. But that doesn't mean you're not growing. In fact, that often means you're growing the most. Because true transformation happens underground where no one can see, but you can feel it shifting your roots. There is a sacred silence in hidden seasons. A silence that teaches patience, endurance, and humility. The kind of silence that molds character instead of image. You learn how to be content with being unseen. Because your worth is no longer tied to recognition, it is tied to your roots. And those roots, they are anchoring you deeper, preparing you for the weight of the greatness you're about to carry. If a seed is dug up too soon, it dies. And that is why some dreams don't survive, not because they weren't worthy, but because they were exposed before they were ready. There's a timing to everything. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait quietly, faithfully, without rushing, without performing, just becoming. The world loves outcomes, but forgets to honor the process. You will see others bloom while you are still beneath. You will hear their stories, watch their celebrations, and wonder, when will it be my time? But remember this, the deeper the roots, the stronger the rise. Your foundation is being fortified in silence so you can carry what others can't. You don't need to share everything while it's still growing. Some dreams need sacredness. They need space to develop, to mature, to form strength before being exposed. Not everyone will understand your silence. That's okay. Because your silence isn't emptiness, it is preparation. And preparation is the highest form of faith. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. You are not stuck, you are planted. And just like the seed, you are being shaped in a way that the world cannot see. But one day, your breakthrough will speak for itself. Not with noise, but with undeniable presence. You won't need to prove anything. You'll simply stand tall, and your roots will do the talking. There is power in privacy, in building behind the curtain, in creating without the need to announce every step. The longer you stay grounded, the more beautiful your bloom will be. Because it is not built on attention, it is built on authenticity. And authenticity will always outlast applause. You may feel overlooked, you may feel forgotten, but the truth is you are being protected. Hidden seasons are not punishment, they are preservation. Your gift is being covered so it doesn't get crushed by premature exposure. There is something coming that needs your full strength, your full clarity, your full preparation. That is why you are still beneath. In a world that demands instant results, dare to trust divine timing. Dare to grow slow. Dare to become steady. Because speed doesn't sustain, but depth does. And you are not building for a moment, you are building for a legacy. One that starts in silence and ends in impact. Let the soil teach you. Let the darkness humble you. Let the process refine you. Don't rush out of the hidden place. Learn everything it has to teach. Because once you bloom, you will never return to that soil. And the strength you gain now will be the strength that sustains you later. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to be seen to be valuable. What you're building in silence will one day speak louder than any announcement. Just like the seed, your time will come. And when it does, it will be undeniable, no, because you forced it, but because you faithfully grew toward it. So stay planted, stay patient, stay faithful. Because the hidden place is not your prison, it is your power. At the end of the day, there comes a time when silence becomes sacred, when the weight of your dream demands stillness, not speeches. Not every seed should be scattered by conversation. Some are meant to be planted in the secret corners of your soul. Let the world wonder what you're building in silence. While you craft quietly with trembling hands and steadfast heart, you owe no one your blueprint when you're still laying the foundation. You are not required to explain purpose that only you can hear. In this world of noise, dare to be the whisper. In this crowd of performers, dare to be the builder. Speak less, do more, grow deeply. Because not all growth is visible, and not all applause is pure. The loudest room is rarely the most productive. The brightest spotlight often burns the unready. So guard your flame while it flickers in private. Protect it until it burns fierce enough to light your way. You are not hiding, you are healing. You are not lost, you are rooted. Your dreams are not late, they are maturing. And the silence you sit in now is not punishment, it is preparation. Every doubt they speak is a reflection of their own limitations. Let them talk you, keep building. Let them mock you, keep moving. Let them leave you, keep becoming. Not everyone who hears your plan will honor it. Not everyone who smiles at you will support you. So choose to walk quietly until your results roar loudly. Choose to hold your vision in the vault of faith, not the court of opinions. When the time is right, the world will see. And they won't need a speech to understand. Your journey will speak for itself, fluent in faith, perseverance, and purpose. Until then, stay silent, stay focused, stay faithful. Because the strongest dreams are not spoken into the world. They are forged in silence and fulfilled in strength.